damn, this is gonna be the most cancelable episode of my most cancelable series. If I had a PR manager, that dude would be setting bear traps in front of my apartment as we speak. For the 4th entry in how to / not write women. This one is probably my favorite of them. It's probably the most controversial of them, but it's probably my favorite of them nonetheless. In this series, I take 2 fantastically written female characters and talk about how much I respect women, and then I have 2 fantastically horrible written female characters. Then I talk about how the people that wrote them do not respect women. Please leave a like, please subscribe. No one else is gonna do this stuff. Someone has to pick up the slack. So we're gonna start off with a whammon done fantastically correctly. I'm talking about Azula from Avatar, The Last Airbender. And I am so eagerly excited for everyone to be like, bro, this is gonna be the one that's written correctly? You're picking a psycho? The answer is yes. Sometimes psychos are just fantastically written, and this just happens to be one of those very, very, very rare scenarios where I am overly impressed by the writing that went into this bimbo. And I am even more excited to tell you that the character I'm gonna be comparing to Azula is Kuvira, the final antagonist of the Legend of Korra series. I'm ready for sparks to fly. A lot of people actually liked Kuvira, and a lot of people didn't like Azula for some reason, and those people clearly never saw Rule 34, who completely disagrees with I wanted to start off with Azula because I always like praising things I love more than I like tearing things down that I hate. So we're gonna start with that. When you're writing a backstory for a character, it is incredibly important to note that that backstory needs to turn the character that you see before you into a logical reason why they look the way that they do. This is like typical writing shenanigans 101. They're the most basic possible idea, right? What character ends up being some evil authoritarian biatch, and it turns out there's no reason why they become that person? Spoilers for the Kuvira part of this video.
I'll work on the project. Please don't drop me.
But I want to start with Azula because Azula is a character that we can completely comprehend how she got where she got to, and completely understand why she deserved where she ended up being. This is the perfect character arc. Imagine a character that's introduced as this incredibly overpowered, ridiculously strong fire whammon. A whammon so manipulative and evil that she can take down the force of nature that is the Avatar in single combat whenever she wants. She's incredibly broken, incredibly powerful, incredibly revered, and incredibly feared for who she is, and we can completely acknowledge and understand how she got to that point. From her very own childhood, she was always considered to be a monster by her own mother, and she was always praised by being said monster by her father. This is bad parenting on both sides. I know that the Avatar fandom is very much of the protect Zuko's mother camp. She was a terrible mother sort of to Azula.
What is wrong with that child?
Looking at it from Azula's perspective, she's living a life without a loving mother. And it's not like her father is exactly a father figure to her that would make her turn out to be, you know, some accomplished scholar out for the good of the world. Her father was an imperialistic bastard who wanted nothing more than the complete annihilation of all inferior races. Her dad was basically Fire Hitler. No wonder why she turned out to be as evil, crude, and manipulative as she was. She grew up in a household where her mother convinced her father to murder her grandfather to seize power. Where do you see the good parenting that should make her anything different than who she is? When she's actually introduced into the story as this really conniving, evil bitch, it's completely understandable where she came from. She's resourceful, she's respected, she's feared, and she's powerful. Every moment that she's on screen, she captures your attention by how not only is she overpowered and because of her strength she's feared, but she's also cruel and manipulative. She's vindictive in all the ways that I'm sure her father praises her, and she becomes a perfect antagonist. I love how the story goes steps further. It even more humanizes her. There's that one beach episode where like the entire Zuko Azula squad is all kind of chilling on the beach. They go to a party. She's trying to get boys to hit on her or whatever, but she ends up terrifying all of them. This is the most humanized evil character ever. She feels bad that she can't interact with people her own age. She feels bad that she is a child raised by war and has no one that's truly a friend of hers. She thinks that Mai and Ty Lee are her friends, and it's like, well, you know, at least she has her posse. The writers had so much care and took so much attention to her character that when Mai ended up liking Zuko more than she feared Azula, it broke her.
I love Zuko more than I fear you.
No, you miscalculated. You should have feared me more.
Azula controlled everyone by fear. Azula was written as a character that's absolutely terrifying. And when people don't fear her, she has absolutely no power over them. May betrays her, Ty Lee betrays her when she decides she's gonna roast May for it. She's left with nothing and can trust no one. She has to throw away her Dai Li agents that were loyal to her. She has to start discarding and throwing away everyone next to her because she cannot trust anyone. She can only trust herself. It was the ultimate dilapidation of mental health in a character, and I don't think I've ever seen a nervous breakdown written better in fiction. Now, all this is said in such a cool way because it doesn't matter if Azula is a male character or a female character. Whether she's a prince or a princess that's this vindictive, manipulative monster, it does not really change the story even an iota. That is what makes her such a fantastically written female character. In fact, I think her being a female character makes her character arc even stronger. She wants to charm a dude with her feminine wiles, and that's just not gonna work because she's just too terrifying for that. She is a monster that supersedes any gender roles that she may have. It's a complete character arc from start to the very, very end. And now, let's compare that to a different antagonist, all right? Look, Azula's finale, her defeat, her eventual, big L that she took at the end of the series was actually tragic. You started to feel for this person who you had no feelings towards, even a little bit. For the entirety of the series, you were rooting against her, but there was also a pang in your chest because you felt bad for her. You felt bad at the mental stress that completely broke her mind. The same cannot be said for Kuvira, a character that is not at all reprimanded for her actions. What are you talking about? She ended up going to jail. You know what? Let's just rip the band-aid off and talk about why this is a really poorly written antagonist. I'm gonna come out and say that I think I have heard more praise for Kuvira than any of the other antagonists in the actual series of Legend of Korra. Legend of Korra has 4 seasons. Each of the seasons has its own character arc with its own unique enemy. The first season has Amon, the second season has Unalaq, the third season has Zahir, and the 4th season has Kuvira. Each one likes poking and prodding at very, very basic concepts that will make any teenager be like, damn, this villain is deep. Whether it's Amon fighting for equality, or whether it's Kuvira as a complete and utter authoritarian leader saying that the world needs to be united under my fist.
I love you, Batar.
Everyone has their ideology that I think every single person watching can scratch their head and somewhat understand or somewhat respect what they're coming from or going through. While I think Kuvira is respected as maybe the best written of them, I think she's by far the worst written of them. And I'm probably gonna do an OP analysis in the future on Zahir and on Amon because I do think both of those are actually good characters. Kuvira's never getting an OP done right on this channel. So I had to give you that breakdown to really stress why Kuvira is, in my opinion, the weakest of the antagonists and why she is a female character that was written incredibly poorly. So the 3rd season following Zahir, he's the anarchist dude. We all know what happens when anarchy prevails. Tyrant shows up, becomes an authoritarian evil ass leader, and that's Kuvira. Zahir in his character arc kills the Earth Queen and is like, well, I don't believe in kings or queens. Kuvira's like, well, now there's no Earth Queen, time to take over the world. And she pretty much takes over the world in a giant mech because every fight in Legend of Korra has to end with giant mechs. Now, remember how I went into the meticulously crafted backstory of Azula and why she ended up becoming a tyrant and how you can understand and somewhat relate to what she was going through and what put her in that spot? The same cannot be said for Kuvira. You know Kuvira's backstory? In the 3rd season, she was one of the foot soldiers of some lady. That's it. And then she becomes the most terrifying leader of an entire empire of the freaking United Nations of Kuvira. I feel like I can keep saying that for different parts of her character story, and that's pretty much it. Here's the crazy part. Kuvira makes believe that she's doing this for the sake of the world, right? Zahir just showed up, he kills the Earth Queen, there is a power vacuum, there are bandits pillaging all these villages, they do need to be somebody out there. And so what does Kuvira do? She decides, well, no one's doing anything, I'm gonna have to unite the Earth Kingdom. Pretty good stuff. I respect the premise, I respect the ideology. So she's out there uniting the Earth Kingdom, saving every village that is willing to sign that they will now obey her, right? She's becoming the new de facto authoritarian tyrannical ruler of the Earth Kingdom. You obey me, I give you my protection. You don't obey me, I let you basically get ravaged by savages and bandits, and your town will fall apart. She becomes an authoritarian tyrant. Now, let me start off by prefacing that I don't blame her for what she's doing if she would have actually decided to be a good character, right? Take over the entire Earth Kingdom and then make it a democracy. Yeah, that would have been really cool. That would have been an incredible character arc. You even had other characters follow suit with her. Good characters like Bolin, who is, when I say good character, I mean like a good guy, like just a nice dude. I don't mean a good character like a well-written character, because Legend of Korra doesn't have a lot of those. You have all these people following her, and she just goes full One Piece world government. Full authoritarian, basically going against her own ideology. She's saying that she wants to unite people because otherwise the Earth Kingdom would collapse. So she feels like the only way to do that is to get a giant mech and nuke capital city, because the capital city is technically built on Earth Kingdom soil, which basically is exactly the same thing that the previous corrupt Earth Queen wanted to do. Like, do you see why this is really bad character writing? Any form of good character writing would have made Kuvira actually follow the ideology that she's spouting. She obviously doesn't want the best for the Earth Kingdom. She's doing it because she wants to be the evil authoritarian ruler of the people. It's almost like the power went to her head. She's like, well, originally I wanted to do this for the right reasons, and now that I realize I can do it for the wrong reasons, it sounds like it's such a much better deal.
Perhaps they're all remembering that old saying, power corrupts.
She's the most flimsy, backwards character that's just ping-ponging back and forth between ideologies, where you don't actually see any of the people that are working for her respect her. They're just blindly following her because they don't have any possible ideology of their own. And to even like put the freaking hammer to the nail, they're like, okay, so she also has this boyfriend that she really loves, and they're gonna rule the Earth Kingdom together, okay? Boyfriend ends up getting captured, and she's like, oh well, and she nukes the hideout of the good guys who captured the boyfriend. Where was the switch that flipped? She was a fine character doing things for the right reasons the whole time, and then all of a sudden it's like, boom, you know what? I need to be an antagonist for this arc, so I'm not gonna do a bait and switch, and I'm just gonna be full evil. And then when she actually eventually loses, the Avatar saves her. She's like, oh my god, you saved me. My entire life has changed now. You didn't have to do it, but now you did, so I will forever be good now. And they're like, well, unfortunately, you did a lot of evil things and killed hundreds of people probably, so we're gonna need to freaking put you in prison. And she's like, I deserve this, and I will serve whatever punishment I am dealt. And that's it. And that's her character arc. If you compare this to Azula for even a second, you can almost tear your hair out when you see what she actually went through. Every other character, every other villain, they ended up losing and taking that L with some sort of dignity. They didn't completely change their mindset or change everything in their life just because, wow, oh my god, you actually saved me even though I tried to kill you. I take it all back. I find it ironic that Korra tries to be the more progressive of the two, and I feel like it just regressed in every possible way from its predecessor. I mean, just look at Toph. Look at how she evolved into old Toph. Mothering is just not her thing, so instead she just leaves her kids to live in the swamp by herself. It's like, dude, is that really making women follow their dreams and accomplish their goals? What are you doing, Korra? Speaking of Korra, the next two entries, yeah, we're doing this. This is a full Avatar episode, baby. Start with Kyoshi. There's a lot less to talk about because she's a lot less of a prominent character than, you know, the main character of Korra. We're just gonna get into the nitty gritty. This is a badass woman. When I think badass woman, Kyoshi is up there. There was this dude named Emperor Chin. He was a tyrant trying to take over the Earth Kingdom. Bro, the poor Earth Kingdom. Every single generation, someone's trying to take over the Earth Kingdom. God damn. This Chin guy, Chin the tyrant, he's wandering around, he's being all cool and brooding, and he's taking over the Earth Kingdom. And Kyoshi, the Avatar, doesn't want him to take over Kyoshi Island, so she uses her earthbending to separate the island from the mainland and make it its own, like, little mini sovereign nation, and that causes Chin to fall into the chasm to his own death. This is the coolest feat in earthbending history that we've ever seen. She separated, she made its own landmass. The coolest earthbending feat ever. A woman did it. And it's really cool, and it's really awesome, and I have nothing but respect for Kyoshi. And I really like how by the end of Avatar, the first season, you know, Avatar The Last Airbender, good Avatar, as I like to call it, Aang is going through this little mental breakdown. He doesn't want to need to kill the Fire Lord, even though the Fire Lord's a bad dude. And when he's calling up the spirits of all the previous Avatars to ask them for advice, he calls up Kyoshi, and he's like, Kyoshi, listen, you'll understand. When you killed Chin the Tyrant, it was an accident. You separated the land, and he could have moved back, but it was because of his ego and his stubbornness that he did fall into the chasm. In comes the most badass response from Avatar Kyoshi.
Personally, I don't really see the difference. But I assure you, I would have done whatever it took to stop Chin. I offer you this wisdom, Aang. Only justice will bring peace.
This is someone that stands by her convictions. Yes, she may have made mistakes in her rule as an avatar, but you know what? She's a human being. And that's the point of Avatar. You are a human being and you will make mistakes. Every avatar makes mistakes. No avatar can completely eradicate all evil, or there will be no purpose for the next avatar. So yes, Kyoshi did make mistakes. However, she did what she thought was right for her time, and she stood by her convictions. She knew that Shin was a bad dude and needed to go down, and she did whatever it took to protect her people and to take the tyrant down. This is a badass character. This is a female character with convictions and with motives and with incredible feats. This is a female character to look up to and revere as a complete and utter total badass. Now, the same can't be said for a future avatar named Korra. Yeah, Korra is a really bad female character. And I know they tried to be all cool and progressive with her. It's like, oh look, it's a protagonist who's a woman and she's awesome. Remember how Aang needed to travel around the entire world to find different masters of different elements so that he could learn all the different elements and shiz? And every avatar needs to do it, and it takes the first 16 years of their life to master the elements by traveling the world and going through these experiences. Well, Korra as a baby already mastered 3 elements. That's how awesome she is. I hate to be the one to say this, but when you're writing a character that you want me to respect, you have to make me respect their struggle to become awesome. Them just being awesome does not elicit any sort of respect from me. And I feel like that's really what they were going for with the entire Korra thing. Korra mastered the Avatar state in the first season. Mastered! Aang didn't master the Avatar state, period, throughout the entirety of The Last Airbender. You know why? Because it's incredibly strong. Whoever he would go up against, he would absolutely wipe out. When he goes up against Ozai at the end, you know, the big climax with the comet in the sky, and Ozai is freaking torching down the entire country. When he goes into Avatar state, it is not even a battle. He demolishes his adversary. How are we supposed to even make opponents for Korra if Korra masters the Avatar state? It's just such a big writing flaw. I'm so surprised to this day that the writers thought that it was a good idea. Since she has complete and perfect control over her Avatar state, which is the biggest L in the history of L's as far as writing power-ups. Look, I talk about overpowered characters all the time. I have a whole series, overpowered characters done right and done wrong. Korra is an overpowered character done wrong, and Aang is an overpowered character done right. She disrespects what it means to be an avatar by mastering the Avatar state so easily. And you know what she uses it for? Winning races against Tenzin's children. Whenever she actually uses it, she loses the fight in the actual series. Kuvira defeats her while she has her Avatar state. But it's not fair, she has PTSD and that's what stops her. At least she has PTSD. It probably means she had character development, right? Yeah, off screen. She lost so badly to Zahir, and it wasn't even the biggest L she took in the series. She takes L's from literally everyone throughout the entire story. And instead of actually, you know, learning from her mistakes and growing from them on screen, it's off screen. And it's all moping. We have a 3-year time skip, and it's like, what was she doing in the last 3 years? Oh, she was moping. She kind of left the world to do its own thing while she just, you know, she was busy being sad that she took an L. She's immediately introduced as the strongest avatar ever, okay? Immediately has mastery over 3 elements. At the end of the first season, she already masters the Avatar state, which Aang didn't do in the entire first season, in the entire Last Airbender series. So disrespecting the character growth of Aang is not a great way to make me impressed by the female character Korra. It's not called a strong character if a character is just strong with no struggle to get to that level of strength. There has to be some sort of struggle, something to overcome, something there. All her struggles throughout the story are self-doubt, and that make her lose all her fights. That and the writers just intentionally nerf her sometimes to increase the stakes. So on the one hand, you're supposed to respect this character for being able to accomplish things that no avatar in the history of avatars have been able to do. But you do realize that these writing props to make it look like she's a respectable and badass character end up coming back to slap you in the face when she can't actually accomplish anything with all these tools that she has at her disposal. The fact that she takes an L against Amon, takes an L against Unalaq in the second season, which causes her, by the way, to break the bond to all the previous avatars, biggest L in avatar history. Then she has to take an L in the third season to Zahir, and it was an L so big, despite her being in avatar state, that she put the world into turmoil, but for the next 3 years by having so much PTSD that she just kind of laid low. So then she goes to fight Kuvira, where she loses again in avatar state. This is not how you write a badass female character. You don't say that she's badass and look how badass she is. She could do a million things and then she loses every fight with all these million things that she had. It's like saying, wow, look at this Pokemon trainer. This Pokemon trainer is so good. All of his Pokemon are level 100 before the first gym, but then he loses to the first gym. I feel like that's a really, really good analogy as to what I'm trying to express here, and that is not how you write a badass and powerful woman. Anyway, I talked about badass women. I talked about evil women. This was a good episode in my books. So thank you all so much for watching. I do hope you enjoyed. I actually just rewatched all of Avatar and all of Korra, so these burns are really, really vivid in my mind. I greatly appreciate you being here. Leave a like, leave a comment, leave a heart, leave a subscribe, and I'll see y'all in the next one. 10,000 likes for How to Not Write Women, episode 5. It's gonna be good. Let me know you want to cover there. Stay weird, fam.